Top of the morning to all of you. It's me, your leader, the Great White Diamond, and today I will be attempting to replicate Undertale's Megalovania as close as I can. Now I am using my brand new laptop for this. As you can tell by the quality face cam, hello, which is responsible because I have a Logitech webcam now, which is up here. You can't see it, but it's up here. Anyway, with no further delay, let us attempt this. Also, you would not believe the struggle and pain I went through to attempt to get this setup to frickin' work. Oh, great. Okay, so here we go. To start off, by the way, I know more about the song now, so I can actually get this more accurate, at least in the beginning. So to start off, we're gonna want to start off with Megalovania with Earthbound's Overdriven Guitar. I choose to name my instruments, but you don't have to. Overdriven gig guitar. And you're going to want to send it to a mixer track. But before you edit anything in the mixer track, you're going to want to type in a value for how much attack the instrument has. You're going to want to go 0.003. Now that might not seem like much, but it does change it to be 17, which is a noticeable difference. It's a small difference, but it's still noticeable. You want to go to Fruity Paramedic EQ2, and you're going to want to use these sliders and get rid of the purple and magenta. Then set orange to that. Do around 255 Hertz. And then set this to be 55 will do ya. Wait, what would... Yeah, this works. And then you should be good. Now, you can do this song at half tempo with normal notes like this, but it sounds a lot better and is actually more authentic if you make these take up this much space. Hit F11 and go to Project and change the numerator of the time signature to 8. This will change the whole project's time signature and make it so it looks like this. Then you're going to want to go into, I already have this set up, but you're going to want to go into Helpers and Scale Highlighting and change it to Other Blues and D. And then, yeah. Then this part is going to sound a bit different for everyone, but you're going to want to change the note length to be around here. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it helps. And then you're going to want to follow this sort of pattern here. Very important detail, stretch out this F6 to be like that. And it sounds like this. Next, you're going to want to Control Z and Control V it. and then change the D6s into C6s, then Control V again, and change the D's into B's, and finally change the D's into A sharps. And the whole thing together sounds like this. Pretty good. Sounds already pretty Megalovania-esque. Oh, important other detail. This one is kind of hard to master. So what you're gonna want to do is change the overall pitch to be... you're gonna want to change it so it looks like this. And then you'll end up with 24. This song is detuned 24 cents up. If you can think of a faster way of doing that, then do that. Just detune it 24 cents up. Oh dear. You could not have... I am so sorry, everyone. You did not see any of the earlier footage before this point. Sorry. Need to check something. Okay, so sorry that you did not see any of the earlier footage. I suppose it was my software was on the wrong scene, so you didn't see any of it. I am sorry. Hang on, I just need to change the settings. Okay, there we go. That should fix it. And we're going to name this pattern. You don't have to name anything, by the way. I just choose to. You're going to want to name this pattern if you do name it lead, because that's what it is. And then the next sound font we need... if we're going in order in which the instruments are heard, like I'm going to, then the next sound font we're going to need is, stupidly enough, another overdriven guitar so we can put different effects on it. But if you were going for the method I used to use, you would go down the list of buzzy, then strings, then bass, then sub-bass. So we're going to take another overdriven guitar, and we're going to name this one bass, and then change the volume. 60 is good, I believe. And then you're going to want to add some reverb with Fruity Reverb. Something around here. And we're going to already name this bass. And we're going to make this sort of pattern here. And we're going to lower the velocity of this top note. Now this might be considered complicated, but it isn't really. And down, and then down only one. So it goes in the same order as the beginning notes of the lead. So it goes D, D6, C6, B5, then it gets complicated here. Because it goes A5, A sharp 5 for half of it, well, roughly half, and then it jumps back up to being C6. So it sounds like this altogether. Let's see how it sounds in conjunction with the lead. Whoops. That's around the volume we're going for. So the next step is to add in the buzzy lead. Now technically you're supposed to use a saw for this, a heavily modified saw wave, but that's overly complicated and you probably don't care about that. This sounds similar enough that it's almost unnoticeable. So we're going to name this one Buzzy Lead. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it underneath the final two leads. And we're going to steal some notes from the original lead. And the next sound font we're going to use is the Mother 3 sound font. We're going to use Buzzy. Buzzy. And there we go. Oh, an important thing you have to do to Buzzy to get it to sound as close to that saw as possible is you're going to want to add maybe 10 or so reverb to it. And it sounds like this. For all of you who are concerned that that's way too high pitched, I agree, but it doesn't stay like that. Oh, and we should add another... No, we don't need it, because the drums go under. Okay. So this next pattern will be known as string lead. I'm going to use the earthbound sound font again, but this time we're going to use strings 1 from it. Strigs, no. Strings, there we go. And this is a bit weird, but we play the strings on the original octave, 1 octave higher, and then 1 octave lower for a sound like this. And it together sounds like this. also, okay, so we're going to have to do a bit of tweaking on the bass, because we don't want it to hear it when it's, we would barely want to be able to hear or feel its presence when the string, fuzzy, and lead are So we go back into the mixer. And we set it to roughly 50. That should be good. Now the next instrument we need will be someone in the house is watching my stream. Anyway, the next thing, wait, the next thing we have to do is add in the sub bass, which in our case is going to be a, it's in here somewhere. We're going to need a tool called FL Slayer, which is a guitar player. Generators. Generators. Fruity, here we go. We're going to need FL Slayer because it sounds the best. And we're going to use a distortion rock guitar. Then reopen sound fonts. Okay, here we go. Now the distortion rock guitar is going to fill in for a very important part of Megalovania, known as shreddage, which costs an absurd amount of money to download and use. So we're going to name this one Faux Shreddage. And it's going to be number 5. Now this will use the same pattern as the bass. I forgot to turn it down. But that's okay. We also need to get rid of this section here on the top of what the fill-in for shreddage plays. So it sounds like this. So yeah. The next thing that we're going to do is add the lead-in for the drums, but first, oh no, first things first, we have to rename this to sub, not submarine, sub bass. Then we're going to rename this little guy into drums, into drumline lead in. And we're going to use a very special kind of drums for this. Fruity, VTS. Hang on. There's a very specific kind of drums that people tend to think that Toby Fox used when making Megalovania. And it's the kind that I use when making the song, and they work great for this. And they're just generally great drums. You should try them out. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll tell you when it shows up. I just need to let the plugin finder do its job. By the way, this video might end up being a few hours long because even with help, it takes me maybe maybe an hour or so to make Megalovania. Then that's with help and a few instruments missing. But I don't have my helpers on this new computer, so I'm gonna have to learn how to do it completely from scratch. I hope you guys are ready, because I most certainly am not. I just wish this would do its job faster, because that would make my life so much easier. Okay, so we're going to want to use the Labs drums. Hang on. Um, okay, sorry for this, everybody. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. I should be able to fix them relatively easily, but still. In the meantime, I suppose we will add the remainder of the instruments. unless it's working now. Nope, it is not in fact working. So, I don't know. I suppose we should just carry on. I'll add in placeholder tracks so that I'll have the space kept for when this decides to start working again. Rename Are you kidding me? Square section. Now this part isn't all that hard to do. What you gotta do is take any square of your choice. It just has to sound similar to the one I'm using. So I would say use this one, but I can't really stop you from using any other, now can I? You take a earthbound square, or any other similar square like I said, and you turn up LFO2 speed to max, and then you set LFO2 amount to 2 or 3 is always works pretty good for me. So you do that, and then you take this new pattern and you actually we need to rename this again. Square section part 1. And then we will just smoothly move everything over to here as well. Drumline opening. And we'll rename this drumline square section. And now we get to move on to the fun part. We'll call this square. And now what we got to do is we got to start putting in the notes for this. You're just going to want to follow the pattern I'm doing. By the way, not all of the notes are going to fit perfectly in the key. Megalovania is slightly pitched up, so there are some outlier notes. We're going to want to copy and paste this into the next part. Except to get rid of this, we only really need these. And we're going to want to Shrink this note to about there. Go into half-step mode, and it will sound like this. Now, there's a good reason for this. The reason being, it creates a jumping off point for these notes to use. My bad, this note's supposed to be extended. Then we do the same thing again. And we go like this.